The Moog Grandmother is probably one of the deepest mono synths on the market right now, with a lot of hidden secrets, and in this video I'm showing you 15 techniques I bet you didn't know about, and I promise there's at least one thing you didn't know. If you knew all of them, comment down below, I pin your comment, but you have to prove it by providing a different technique so other people can learn. If nothing is patched into the attenuator, we can use the output to set voltage somewhere, so this is basically a hidden knob. You could patch it into any input and then control it. And I like to do this for the pulse width modulation oscillator 1 because now we can set fixed pulse width amounts instead of just modulating it. So there are a bunch of new waveforms we could get instead of this modulation sound. And because the attenuator is bipolar, it can also set negative values, and we can use this in the rate in, turn it down completely, and now we can achieve even longer and slower LFOs. And these LFO cycles basically take minutes to finish if you would send it to the filter. Let's check it out with a little bit faster rates. Then we can make it really slow. And if you set the attenuator into the negative range, it's even slower. And this will now take minutes to open up the filter again. So if you need slow modulation for some way, that's the way how you do it. You can achieve way lower rates with this trick. Even if there is no mod wheel CV output, we can still use it to control a few parameters on the synth, for example the filter cutoff. Usually this wouldn't be possible, but with this small patching trick we can make it work. So we go from the attenuator out into the rate in again to get extreme slow values. And now we are setting it to a square wave, because the square wave is basically just voltage on and voltage off. And by setting it to a really slow LFO rate, we can get these long cycles of on and off values. And to be able to use the mod wheel, we are going from the gate out into the sync in, and what this will do, each time you are pressing a note, we are resetting the waveforms from the oscillator. So they are starting at the beginning with each key press, and that means we are starting with the on cycle from the square wave every time we are pressing a key. And if you send it to the filter cutoff, decrease it a little bit, you are able to open the filter with the mod wheel. But you have to set it to the slowest rate if it would be fast enough. We have switching on and off cycles. We have jumping on and off cycles, and then it wouldn't be possible, so we need really slow values. You can hold shift and use the rate knob on the modulation oscillator to fine tune it. So instead of going these big jumps, we can fine tune it by pressing shift. And that will come in handy in the next trick. The modulation oscillator can actually run at audio speeds, so we are able to use it as a third oscillator. For this one we are going from the wave out into any of the mixer inputs. Let's take the noise, and if you turn it up fast enough, we are hearing a sound. And we have different waveforms available. A sine wave that you wouldn't have on the other oscillators, saw wave, reverse saw, and the square. And the rate knob is now working as a tuning knob. And to be able to track the pitches we are playing, go from the keyboard out into the rate. But be careful, you also have to tune this like a real oscillator, so I would recommend to tune it to the first oscillator. And now the fine tuning comes in really handy. You can press hold or shift and fine tune it to the first oscillator. Now you can get fat bass sounds. What you could also do is take the gate out, set it into the sync in, and now the waveform is starting exactly as soon as you're pressing a key. You are not really able to hear this, but the more complex patches, this can make a lot of sense, so you get rid of phasing effects. Because the gate out is sending voltage, as long as we're pressing a key, we can use this to make plucky sounds even more aggressive and more plucky by shaping the transient of the sound, so the initial hit of the sound. And we are going from the gate out into the attenuator in, and now we could, for example, patch into the pulse width modulation, and each time you are pressing a note we have a different pulse modulation. the gate will send the voltage to the pulse width, changing it, and to be able to hear this change, so the initial state of the pulse width, without the gate voltage that is getting sent into the pulse width, you have to turn up the release. And now only when you press down a note, you have a different pulse width, and it's fading back to its initial state. So you kind of have two states of the pulse width, the one that's changed, and with the attenuator you can now set the different pulse widths. And if you now turn this into a plucky sound, with a sharp envelope like that, you have a different pulse width only for the transients of the sound. And that's how you can kind of shape the transient of the sound with the attenuation knob now. So also going into the negative directions. Because the filter can self-oscillate, we are able to play it if you decrease the cutoff completely and turn up the resonance all the way. Enable the keyboard tracking, so we are changing the cutoff of the filter. You are able to play notes, and now the cutoff knob works like a tuning knob. Without keyboard tracking. It's also really pure waveform, similar to the sine wave. I think if you add spring reverb, it instantly sounds like these beautiful bells. We have this keyboard tracking switch here, but because the filter also has a cutoff in and we have a keyboard out, we can create the keyboard tracking knob similar to the knob on the Moog Matriarch, the bigger version of the Grandmother. So go out from the keyboard, through the attenuator, into the cutoff in. And now we have a keyboard tracking knob. So higher notes will open the filter more than lower notes. You can change the amount of this with the attenuator. And you can also make it work into the negative direction. So lower notes will be brighter and higher notes will be more filtered. And the really funny thing you could do is mute the oscillators, drive the filter into self-oscillation, tune it, and if you now turn the attenuator into the negative direction, you reverse the keyboard basically, because notes you are playing in this direction will go down, and in the other direction it will go up. So if you want to create some crazy melodies, try it out. Because if nothing is patched into the attenuator input, the output is giving us voltage, and the mixer is basically just handling voltages, and all our oscillators are also just producing voltage. And if you drive an oscillator high enough in the mixer, we are getting distortion. Because there is too much voltage in the mixer, and we can amplify this effect by going from the output into an input and sending even more voltage. So this is kind of working like a saturation knob. Sending more voltage into the mixer, making it overdrive more. So what we could also do is taking an LFO with a slow sine wave and sending it into the mixer. And now we are getting rhythmic modulation, basically rhythmic saturation effects, because the LFO is driving more voltage into the mixer in a rhythmical way depending on the waveform and the rate we are setting. And so we are getting rhythmic distortion. And if you do this on a triangle wave, it kind of sounds like pulse width modulation on a square wave. So that's the way how you could create fake pulse width modulation for the triangle wave. Because the envelope has a trigger in, we can send in a really fast LFO to trigger it at audio rates. And if we take the envelope out signal, send it into the mixer, we can basically create a new oscillator, a new waveform, because we have a really fast repeating voltage cycle similar to an oscillator. And you have to drive it up here So right now the modulating oscillator is not producing the sound, it will only trigger the envelope. So it's basically just like a clock saying the envelope to trigger. And to change the pitch we also have to go from the keyboard out. But the oscillator here is not producing any sound at all, it's just triggering it, giving it its tempo. And now you can use these faders here to shape the oscillator waveform basically. And this is working like a pulse width modulation fader now. You can mix it with the other oscillators. So we could create 3 note chords. By tuning each oscillator differently. And the Moog Grandmother actually has 4 oscillators this way. We have 2 main oscillators, 1 modulating oscillator that can run in audio rates, and the envelope that's getting triggered by the LFO in such fast rates that it's also getting turned into an oscillator. But if you want to learn how to create this patch, click the first link in the description to check out the Moog Grandmother course. Even if the high pass filter doesn't have a resonance knob, we can still force it into resonance by going from the output of the mixer into the high pass filter. Then into the mold, one is going back into the noise and one is going into the input of the low pass filter. And if you now turn up the high pass filter and the noise, we can create resonance for the high pass filter. And the noise kind of works as the resonant knob now. And that's how you can create really nasty sounds. And you can use this together with the resonance here. And now you basically have a dual resonance bandpass filter, because we are going from the high pass into the low pass filter, creating kind of a bandpass filter with 2 resonance knobs. So you can get really crazy and screaming sounds together with the reverb. The Moog Grandmother is a beast when it comes to feedback patches, meaning patching a signal back into its input. And that's my favorite feedback patch. Go from the wave out into the mold. We are sending back 1 signal into the oscillator 2 in. 1 signal is going into the noise in. And now we have the same oscillator 3 times, the exact same signal at no phasing. Because even if you would use both oscillators, there would always be a little bit of phasing, even if you try to tune it perfectly. And sometimes that might not be what you want for a sound. So if you take the wave out and clone it, we have the exact same waveform without any phasing. And if you now go from the output of the mixer into the input of the attenuator, from the output back into the mold, you can turn up the attenuator for really heavy sounds. That's probably the heaviest sound you could get on the Grandmother. I mean, listen to the difference. You could also do this with the sine wave instead of the triangle wave, and this will give you really heavy sounds for 808 type basses, because the mold is able to merge audio signals from the wave outs, the high pass filter output and the low pass filter output. We are able to create a notch type filter where we are filtering out the low end and the high end and have this notch in the middle, kind of the reversed way than a bandpass filter. When we are creating a bandpass filter, we are patching the filters in series, meaning they are after each other in a chain. But with this patch now, we make them run in parallel, creating a notch type filter. Go from the output into the input of the high pass filter, the output into the mold, and from the output of the low pass filter into the mold. We don't have to split this jack here, because if you patch something into the output, it's still normal to the input of the filter. As long as you are not patching something in the filter input, it's internally routed to the mixer output, even if you are patching something into the output. And we are taking this signal and sending it straight into the VCA in. So we are combining the signal from the high pass filter with the low pass filter instead of running them in series. And now we can create a notch. Removing only frequencies in the middle. Last but not least, one of my favorite tricks. Go from the attenuator output into the rate in. Let's slow it down. We've done something similar before. Then we are taking the gate out, sending it into the circle in, set it to the square wave. Set it really slow here in the rate. And now we can control 3 destinations: the cutoff, the pulse width and the pitch. And I think the pitch in is one of the coolest things about this. So turn up the pitch. And now we can control the pitch with the mod wheel. Basically having 2 pitch bend wheels. And with the pitch amount you can tune where you want to land. If you want to fully understand the Moog Grandmother, click the first link in the description and watch a free lesson of my Moog Grandmother course. I'm guiding you from the beginning principles to advanced semi-modular sound design. Thanks a lot for watching and see you soon.